Alright guys, on the table here is this gorgeous 1971 CB750. I recently made a video on kind of getting this thing back to roadworthy. Hopefully you guys have seen that. If you haven't, why haven't you watched it? Come on, go watch it. Really, it's a good video. So anyway, I mentioned in that video that I was going to do an electronic ignition, and that was going to be a dedicated video, and here it is. So the mission today is to get rid of the points ignition system in favor of a newer electronic ignition. Now this is a very easy thing to do. There are multiple kits out there. I have personally used the Charlies Place ignition. I have used the Dynatek ignition, and this is going to be the attempt to use the knockoff one, but you'll see going forward how that kind of goes awry and unironically does not work. But regardless, the idea here is to upgrade this thing and make it a little bit more modern and increase that reliability just a little bit. Now, the factory point system is not inherently bad, but it does take a little bit of care and some occasional adjustment and stuff like that. So a lot of people upgrade these things to a kind of set it and forget it type system, being electronic, using a magnetic inductance pickup to then send the signal to the coils, and it utilizes your factory mechanical advance. So it's a really cool setup, very common. I think it's safe to assume that whenever you do this transition, you can have a more crisp, clean cold start, a better idle, and overall better performance. There's just a cleaner burn. So there are a few great benefits to it, but there is a simplicity too. So again, set and forget it. So anyway, we're going to start off with removing the stock system here. I'll kind of talk you through the different components, what we're going to be using and what we're going to be replacing, and then we'll go ahead and start the install on the Dynatek. Starting out, I'm simply removing the old components, first with the points cover. Here you can see the factory points plate with attached condensers and two mechanically actuated points for our two pairs of cylinders being 1-4 and 2-3. The points are opened and closed by a lobe on the center rotor that is attached to a mechanical timing advancer behind the plate, which you'll see in a moment. To remove the plate, you must first secure the crankshaft with a wrench and then loosen the center 10mm nut, allowing the removal of the advancer retainer. Next, you undo the 3 plate retaining screws and carefully slide the plate off. With the plate off, you can see the advancer, which advances the timing based on RPM. As engine speed increases, centrifugal force acts on the weights, which then move outward as they overcome the resistance of the springs. This, in effect, rotates the center rotor on a shaft, causing the timing to be either advanced or retarded as engine speed increases or decreases. After removing the advancer, I then look for my connections to the harness and undo them so I can feed the harness back out of the hole in the engine case, while taking caution not to damage the wiring in the process. The new system consists of a plate with 2 single pickups, a simple harness, jumper lead, and of course a new rotor to replace the lobe on the stock mechanical advancer. My next step is to disassemble the advancer to clean and lubricate everything, as these can actually seize up with a lack of maintenance. Take special note of the very thin thrust washers, as these are very easy to lose. After cleaning, I ran into my first hurdle with the new rotor not fitting over the stock advancer due to the thick powder coating on the inside of the bore, as well as a small pin further down. Some work on the lathe fixed these issues, but we weren't out of the woods just yet. This should just take 30 minutes. What an idiot! So here are 2 different advancers. So this is the one off the bike. And basically I had to take the powder coating off of the inside of this thing, so I just put it in the lathe. But you could work with some sandpaper and do that. But another issue here, this early version has this little pin right there. Has a set of unique washers with a cutout for that pin. And because of that, this actually would not slide on. You would try to put it down, it would hit that pin, and it wouldn't extend all the way down. So to alleviate this, so I'm not willing to modify the bike to fit the cheap Chinese parts, but I'm willing to modify the cheap Chinese parts. So I put this in the lathe in a different orientation and then just put a relief in here. So I opened up that end to allow it to slide past that pin. Now, you'll notice over here we have another advanced unit. This one is off of a K5 CB750. Now, if you were to just clear the powder coating out of this, it would fit on here like normal and you wouldn't have to open up this end. It does not have a pin on there. So just in case you have an early bike with a different style advanced unit, this may be something you have to do, or if you're willing to knock that pin off of it, you do what you got to do. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing assembled. So put a little bit of oil here on the bottom. Little thrust washers on these pins. Go ahead and hook up our springs. Now quickly, this is something I should have pointed out before, but you'll notice a little line right there. That line is important as it signifies the clocking of this piece. Now, whenever I disassembled this, I took note of it, and that line was pointing to this logo right here, which has another dot. You will find that this is usually pointing at something, so just notate that before you take it apart. But we're going to have that correspond with our magnet. We're going to go ahead and try that orientation for this. God, this thing does not fit worth a shit. This thing sucks. I'm going to have to open these little slots up. Come on. I did have to open up the slots just a little bit, but it works fine. Now we can set this on the bike. We have our alignment pin. Sucks. This thing seriously does not fit at all. Okay, that might be an acceptable routing. Okay. Okay, continuing on, you'll notice we have the tank off and the seat lifted up, and that's just to get access to some of the wiring up here. So as far as wiring this thing is concerned, it has this red wire included, and this is to draw power from switched 12 ignition. So what they intend for you to do is to use one of these dudes on the end of this and tap it into one of those wires, but those we throw away. So I made a little jumper harness. I know not everybody will have the right connectors and stuff like I do, but I'm not willing to modify this bike. So the black with white wire, that is ignition switched 12. So that is going to be what has power and no power on the kill switch. So that is what we need to tie into. So basically I can unplug one of these, plug that end in, and then plug back into this end, and then our red wire is gonna go into the other side. Now on the other side, we have the 3 wires. So these 2 are tied together into that red wire. And then we have black and white. So if we look at our pickups, obviously our kind of red and blue, those are gonna be the power. And then our black and white are gonna be to the coils. So our white is on the left side. If we reference this, 1 to 4, 2, 3. So our 1, 4 is blue, and our 2, 3 is yellow. So anyway, 1, 4 is on the left, white is on the left. So our white wire is going to tie into the blue wire. Our black wire is going to tie into the yellow. So those just plug in there. We'll have to kind of coil this thing up and hide it. It's kind of an odd length. And then the red wire should reach all the way up there. So here I'm making my wiring connections. You're gonna notice that I'm putting the white wire to the yellow lead, and that is because I sometimes have the attention span of a goldfish and have completely forgot what I'd said already. So anyway, just do as I say, not as I do. The white goes to the blue and the black goes to the yellow. After making these final connections, I started working on static timing the bike and looking for that timing signal so we could then make it run, but things didn't quite go as planned.
Many unbearable hours later.
30 minutes, this guy says. It has been hours. It has been hours, okay? It is wired up correctly. I have checked upon checked on stuff, and this thing does not have spark. $37 China ignition. New in the box. Bad in the box. I cannot figure this one out. Yeah. I shouldn't have said it. I said it was going to take 30 minutes. That was my fault. How dare I assume such things? Anyway, I got an actual Dynatek on order now, so I guess we'll pick this back up whenever I slap that plate on, and it works.
3 days later.
So it's been a few days. I have an actual Dynatek kit, assuming this is their actual box. So hard to trust anything anymore, but we're gonna go ahead and unbox this thing. We'll check it out, see if there's any visual differences. There should be at least a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and install this thing. Now the install process should be identical. So everything I've said up to this point should be completely the same. But if it's not, I'll be sure to address it here momentarily. Now, not sponsored by Dynatek or anything like that. I feel obligated to say that every time I use a product. I've installed plenty of their products over the years. Very familiar looking bag. I am curious about the rotor, if there is a difference, and if it will fit the, so it's pretty thick still, if it will even fit the 71. Obviously we had that issue earlier where we had to relief this side. So I think that's why what I noticed on the bag, so right here it says 72 to 77. This bike's a 71. On this side it says 69 to 78. So I don't know. I mean, it's got two different labels on it. This one is way more legit looking. This one looks like it, you know, Parts Unlimited, like their sticker. So, I don't know. The actual sticker on it. These seem like they're attached. The other one's kind of loose. And our wiring harness is pointing the correct direction instead of going this way and having to loop around. Okay. Let's hook it up. Okay, we have the advanced unit. On the left we have the actual Dynatek rotor, and then on the right we have the aftermarket rotor, you know what I mean? So if you remember, I had to actually put this thing in the lathe and take all the powder coating and stuff off of it just so it would even fit over this end. Okay. The Dynatek one fits perfect. All right. Now, we do have an issue. Obviously, we had to open up this end. It looks like we will end up having to do the same thing on this one, or we can just kind of run the cheap pickup. It seems like they're clocked within the same position. So I don't know, we'll see if it works with this one since we've already done the work. I think that would be probably our best decision there. I can modify this if I need, or if I really, really, really want to, I can knock that little pin off, but I just don't want to, guys. Okay, here's another difference. The overall height. Dynatek one is a little taller. I was noticing that with this on here, it had a bunch of vertical motion because it was sitting below the top. So this one should fit correctly. Maybe I'll just modify this. Okay, the differences in the plates. So here's the first one we started out with. Pretty thick gauge wiring. The pickups were like coming apart, honestly. Brown and blue, I don't know why. Anyway, here's the new one. So the pickups are just they just look higher quality for one. The orientation of the cable is correct. Slightly thinner gauge, both red wires, like it makes more sense. The pickup, everything looked like it was in the correct position, so we just reinstalled the cheap one just to see if that'll get us by. But let's go ahead and throw this on the bike. Just have to figure out our best clocking or wire routing, you know, not too big a deal. Something like that. Yeah, the plate fits in here much better, by the way. Just gonna set that to the middle of the window. I'm not gonna bother with final wire routing just yet. We just gotta test this thing and make sure it works. Even the little plug is the same. Okay. Okay. White is 1 through 4. Should go to blue.
To set the static timing, I use a simple bulb from an old set of gauges. The negative side is grounded to the engine case, and the positive side runs to either the blue or yellow connections we just made. Be careful not to short anything on the power side.
Okay, we have this installed into the 1 to 4. Key on. Son of a bitch.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Check this out. Power on, just like we've been doing. Here is the cheap rotor. I'm just going to install it backwards so we can spin it without spinning the engine. We're passing by the pickups. Right, wait for it. See right there? That should illuminate the light. Without stopping the camera. Here's the Dynatek. Now there is a window in which it works, so we have to make sure we're within that. But this does work now. Nothing. Much better. Sits at the correct height and everything. What do you know? Okay, everything is installed. So we have our advance. We can rotate the rotor. You see everything moving up there. That's advancing the timing. Now on the plate, you're gonna see a double slash mark. That double slash mark is the full advance mark. So we're gonna rotate this forward. You should be able to see that double slash right there. It's a little hard to see, I know. But if we rotate the rotor forward at full advance, rotate the engine, our light comes on. It's a little precarious, especially when you got a camera right there. Boom. So the light comes on right at that mark. I'm gonna let go of the advance. I'm gonna keep rotating this. And then you're gonna see an F mark come up. Right there. So we're right at the F mark, which means 1 and 4 timed perfectly at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead, change my lead to the 2-3. We're gonna redo the same test. Okay, we're hooked up on the 2-3. I can see our full advance mark there. That's perfect. I'm gonna let go of the advance. That's pretty dang good. I could actually adjust the 2-3. I could actually retard the timing just a hair. But I think what I'm gonna do is actually just go ahead and get this thing running, and we will time it using a timing light on the bike. So we're gonna have to check that anyway, but this is at least how you set the static timing. All right, so next day, the ignition system is installed. I just took it for a ride and just got it warmed up. So if you remember yesterday, we did the static timing where we set it based on a light without the bike running. Now that got us close, but right now we're gonna get ready to do the dynamic timing. So I'm gonna show you exactly what we're gonna need for that. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. So for this one, you will need a timing light. I picked this up like just out of high school, so it's like 19 years old at this point. But yeah, power and ground. And then this clamp goes over one of the plug wires. So it's an inductive type setup. It will sense whenever that coil lead is firing, and then it will go ahead and flash the light. We're gonna use that light. We're gonna flash it right through there. And that flash will correspond with that marking that you'll see. So that way we'll be able to actually see the timing and then make our adjustments from there. Now yesterday we got this thing set up where it was about perfect on the 1 and 4 pickup, and then 2 and 3 was just like this much off. So what we'll probably end up doing is, instead of moving the whole plate, is we'll probably just end up undoing these screws and moving the pickup just slightly. So let me go ahead and get stuff hooked up and we'll get going. Go ahead and hook this up to 1 to 4. And make sure it's not on a plug wire or exhaust. So you can see it's actually a little delayed, so it's a little retarded right now. So here's 2-3. So it's the same thing. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and rotate the whole plate. Hot. Okay, we got gloves. Man. A little bit more. So right on it there. I'm gonna go ahead and check the full advance, so we'll rev it up. Perfect. I'm gonna move the lead to 1 and 4. We're dead on right there. So I apologize. The light looks like it's moving up and down, but it's just the frame rate of the phone. Perfect. Okay, we just had to do a little bit of an adjustment on the whole plate, and luckily we didn't have to adjust the individual pickups, which is really not hard. They provide an Allen wrench for that. Pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, we just had to, let's see, which way do we go? It's going that way. We had to retard the timing a little bit, and now it's good. So I'm gonna go take this thing for another spin, but we should be good to go on it.
Well, like all of my videos, something had to go sideways, and in this case, it was a faulty new ignition system. This one is a good example of where it's important to buy quality parts. As I often say, buy it right or buy it twice. Regardless though, I hope this video was helpful. Check some other videos out on the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.